Tonight, after 70 years as monarch of the British Commonwealth, Queen Elizabeth II passes away at age 96.
We can finally grieve.
A day after the man believed to have killed 11 people on the James Smith Cree Nation is captured and dies himself, the community holds ceremonies to heal their pain.
They said that is only 47, but it's been 97.
And survivors of the Mohawk Institute are looking for lost graves while holding back developers. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Queen Elizabeth II has died. Just hours after the news that the Queen was not well, Buckingham Palace announced the Queen's death at the age of 96. A statement from Governor General Mary Simon said when she was growing up, her grandmother revered the Queen, as did so many in the Arctic. Her reign encompassed the mandates of 12 Canadian Prime Ministers and 13 Governor Generals. She had 22 official visits to Canada during her 70 years on the throne. Elizabeth II was, of course, the Queen of Canada as well, the only monarch most Canadians have ever known. Her 70-year reign began in 1952. The Queen celebrated her Platinum Jubilee this year. With her passing, her son Charles will now become king. He will be officially known as Charles III. Official response to the death of Queen Elizabeth has been coming out all afternoon, and some of it from the hardest places in the country to get to. In Iqaluit, Nunavut, the response was swift. This was the scene outside the Nunavut Legislative Assembly just half an hour after the Queen's death had been announced. The Union Jack isn't typically flying in front. Other official responses were just as fast. This is the RCMP headquarters just down the street from the Assembly. Queen Elizabeth was one of Nunavut's first official visitors. She was in attendance in Iqaluit on April 1st, 1999, when Nunavut was officially designated as its own territory. To the James Smith Cree Nation now, leaders and family members held ceremonies and gave speeches today in the Saskatchewan Cree Nation, still reeling from the mass stabbings that took place over the weekend. This comes the day after Miles Sanderson, who was accused of being one of the persons that killed 11 people and wounded 18 more, was apprehended by police. He has died in custody. APTN's Priscilla Wolf has this report.
I'm Priscilla Wolf on the James Smith Cree Nation, where the families and leadership of the James Smith Cree Nation are gathered to address the media, first responders, and people who are supporting the community in their time of need.
Her husband was one of the accused. Her husband was accused of killing my sister. Our family is here to forgive. This woman shouldn't have to bear that kind of guilt and shame and responsibility. I just come here to personally thank the RCMP, all of them, every single one of them. They left their families behind to come and help us. And to help us grieve. We can finally grieve. A lot of people were chased out of their houses in our community, scared. It's been the hardest few days of my life.
The commanding officer of the Saskatchewan RCMP says that communities and the police need to work together to stop these tragedies.
We ask that we have our own tribal policing. We ask for awareness in addictions. We ask for treatment centers so things wouldn't happen like this to any nations around the world.
This incident sheds light on a fractured system where the parole board has to be more transparent and to make some fundamental changes in consultations with First Nations peoples. The justice system needs to work with our members, our leaders of our First Nations, and establish, in this case, a transition period for those dangerous offenders.
Community members are saying that gatherings and wakes have begun to happen as the community begins to heal. Leaders are saying that the teepees will not come down until they reach all their family members.
My relatives, my nephew and nieces. And we're having a hard time here.
Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, James Smith Cree Nation.
To Thunder Bay now, where the person tasked with overseeing the city's Troubled Police Services Board has filed a new report. The Ontario Civilian Police Commission released Board Administrator Malcolm Mercer's report on Thursday. The Police Services Board currently has multiple vacancies and is effectively under the control of Mercer. Thunder Bay is also on the search for a new police chief after Sylvie Hoth was suspended earlier this summer over allegations of misconduct. However, Mercer says simply appointing a new board and chief will not solve the city's policing problems. In his report, he says the new board must reflect the true diversity of Thunder Bay, and this includes having the perspectives of all First Nations the police force serves. Thunder Bay Police have long been plagued by poor relations with the Indigenous community. The Ontario Police Watchdog is also currently investigating the police service. The OCPC did not consent to Mercer speaking with APTN News. The family of a man that was in distress want answers after Vancouver police fired multiple rounds from a beanbag shotgun at him and killed him. APTN's Tina House has that story.
This memorial set up on Hastings is to remember 42-year-old Chris Amiot. The father of 7 and grandfather of 2 was only in Vancouver for 5 days, visiting his 2 eldest children, when on August the 22nd, he was the victim of a bear spray attack.
He was running up the street taking off his clothes because that's what you do when you get bear sprayed.
The family of Chris Amiot recently held a press conference in Vancouver to demand answers as to what happened to him. Samantha Wilson is Chris's cousin.
He was yelling to the bystanders, call 911. You know, someone help me, like I need help. And we were told that 6 cop cars arrived.
Chris Amiot's family says he was then shot by police 4 times in the back and 2 times in the chest by a high-powered beanbag shotgun at close range.
There was an interaction between that man and the officers. He was taken into custody, and after he was taken into custody, he did go into medical distress.
And all the witnesses that have told us have said that Chris had his hands in the air when he was shot. He was holding a jug of milk in his hand, and his hands were in the air when they fired upon him. And that he was shot twice in the chest and 4 times in the back.
The incident took place here in broad daylight, with numerous witnesses agreeing that there was no altercation and that he just needed medical help.
We were all shouting at the police that he was bear sprayed and he needed help, and they didn't listen to us.
Chris's family are demanding answers and claim the police have not contacted them.
I'm here to seek understanding and reasoning behind the split-second decision made by this police officer to pull his trigger 6 times instead of 1. That would have immobilized Chris and caused him to fall to the ground, and he could have been administered the care that he was begging for.
The Vancouver police told APTN they can no longer comment on the incident, as this case is now part of a police watchdog investigation. This memorial pays tribute to a man that was deeply loved by his family, and what many are saying was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
New information is coming to light at one of Canada's most notorious residential schools. That story and more coming up after the break. Welcome back. It's been over a year since survivors started trying to uncover the truth about the Mohawk Institute, one of Canada's oldest and longest running residential schools. As Annette Francis tells us, it's been a slow process, but their search for the truth is starting to pay off.
Yeah, and then when we was here, we'd be so hungry all the time, so we'd have to, the boys anyway, had a lot more free time to roam around, so we have to go to the dump just at the back of here.
Charlene Bomberry is a member of the Survivors Secretariat and one of over 15,000 students that were forced to come here at the old Mohawk Institute, also known as the Mush Hole. She says new documents reveal more deaths than what was listed by the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation.
They said that at only 47, but it's been 97, and no history is still working on this stuff, right? It's still working. It's still a work in progress, and because if you look at it, 38 communities came here. People, like students from there, came here to this place.
Alice Glaze is a researcher with no history. The research firm that has been collaborating with the Secretariat for the past 9 months.
For instance, some of the 97 children that we have identified so far, we don't know their names. They might just be mentioned in a record in passing. And so we're continuing to work to try to identify specific names of children who passed away and the impacted communities. And we also are looking at a wide variety of records to try to get more information on where those children were buried.
As for the ground search, Geronimo Henry says it's still ongoing. He says it's a lot of work.
I understand there's only maybe 2 people in Ontario that can read this data. So I don't, like in each one of these squares you see here, and it seems like to me we have over 100 of these squares done, and we're waiting for, and I think everybody's kind of waiting to see if there's unmarked graves here.
Survivor John Elliott is doubtful he'll see the end results.
I don't think I'll see it at the end of my lifetime. I'm 85 years old, and I think so far as they've gone with them grids right now, it's only maybe 5.5 acres or something like that. And there's 600 acres around here to do. So, like I say, I'll probably never see the end of it.
Diane Hill remains hopeful. She says what they need is to have all the records released. She also has concerns over local development and the protection of the site.
The buffer zone possibly contains burial sites. In the Provincial Cemeteries Act, provincially, federally, whatever their level is, their regulations identify cemeteries as protected if it's an identified burial site. So even if it's ancestral. If it's a native ancestral burial site, it is not protected.
According to Hill, a meeting is planned later this month with developers, city officials, and archaeologists to discuss the protection of the buffer zone. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Brantford.
The National Indian Residential School Crisis Line is available for survivors and others who might need support. That number is 1-866-925-4419. A term that has historically been used as an offensive ethnic, racial, and sexist slur, particularly for Indigenous women, is literally being wiped from the map in the United States. The Department of the Interior says the S word has officially been replaced in nearly 650 locations in the U.S. It's the culmination of the work of the Derogatory Geographic Name Task Force and the Board of Geographic Names that included consultation with 70 tribal governments. In making the announcement, Secretary Deb Haaland said she felt a deep obligation to use her platform to ensure public lands are welcoming, and that starts with removing racist and derogatory names. A Mi'kmaq designer is off to Fashion Week in New York City. That story and more coming up. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Joe Apaluktuk shared this photo of a beautiful pink and orange sunset over Baker Lake in Nunavut. Thanks, Joe, for sharing this great photo with us and our viewers. You can email your pictures to share@aptn.ca, and your photo might be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at your Friday weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 21 and cloudy in Halifax, showers and 24 in Fredericton. Rain and 19 in Kuujjuaq, cloudy and 13 for Nain. Sun's out and 27 in Montreal, a sunny 26 in Chibougamau. Sunny and 26 for Sault Ste. Marie, North Bay and Ottawa. 18 with showers in Thunder Bay, 25 and rain in Sioux Lookout. 19 with showers for God's Lake, 1 degree cooler with rain in Norway House. Rain and 24 in Winnipeg, 23 with showers in Dauphin. 20 in Regina, 19 for Saskatoon. 17 in Meadow Lake, rain and 15 for La Ronge. Sunny in northern Alberta, 21 in Grand Prairie, 17 in Fort McMurray. Sunny and 18 in Edmonton, showers and 16 for Lethbridge. Sunny and 22 in Vancouver, 24 under the sun in Victoria. 19 and sunny in Prince George, sun's out and 22 for Smithers. 18 with showers in Old Crow, 16 and rain in Whitehorse. 12 for Yellowknife, 19 in Norman Wells. +5 with rain in Sax Harbor, 8 in Pawlatuck. 11 with showers for Chesterfield and Arviette. 5 in Resolute, cloudy and 8 in Arctic Bay. From a Mi'kmaq community in New Brunswick to New York Fashion Week, a Mi'kmaq designer is preparing for the Big Apple. Angel Moore has that story.
Ever since Ingrid Brooks was a child, fashion has been part of her life.
Me and my cousins, we would play fashion runway, and we were always making our own little stages, and I should have known back then what I was going to end up doing. Yeah. And you know, and I always wanted to be like the boss, of the
Now these Brooks designed gowns will be part of New York Fashion Week in a fashion show featuring independent designers. Brooks of the Indian Island First Nation hopes to network and learn.
Like, I want to get a ready-made collection, and hoping to meet people to connect with them and how they did it.
Brooks designs are becoming a regular on the runway. Last June, they were at the Badabin Art Symposium in Fredericton, Indigenous Fashion Week in Toronto in 2018, and Paris Fashion Week in 2019. Brooks designs tell a story representing Mi'kmaq culture. This blue gown is Brooks' favorite. Made with cloth traditionally used for trade, the material can last up to 100 years, and sewn Mi'kmaq double curves with sequins. The print on this dress is a porcupine basket made by Brooks, featuring fire colors.
When they look at her dress, they're going to say, oh wow, this is Mi'kmaq porcupine quill work, and these are double curves. She's from the East Coast. She's Mi'kmaq. So just to represent where we're from, and
worn with a Mi'kmaq peak cap and basket, featuring Mi'kmaq culture in fashion. This peak cap, Brooks made with trade cloth and microbeads, following designs that are over 200 years old.
This is part of our culture, and I like to see more of the women wearing these. You know, this is Mi'kmaq.
Brooks, inspired by her grandmother's patterns, learned how to sew from her great aunt. She says the Mi'kmaq double curve has different meanings.
The curves, I hear different stories about the double curves. I heard like this is the beginning of life, the middle of your life, and then the end of your life.
Brooks hopes to inspire youth to become fashion designers and represent Indigenous identity. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Indian Island First Nation.
Right on, Ingrid. Best of luck in the Big Apple. A woman from a First Nation in northern Manitoba was given a hero's welcome upon her return from the Dragon Boat World Championships in the Czech Republic. Our Daryl Stranger has more on her success.
Congratulations! I'm proud of you. Congratulations.
An unexpected welcome party greeted Trina Ross as she returned home from the Czech Republic with a little more baggage than she left with. Ross recently represented Canada and her community of Pimachikamak Cree Nation at the 2022 Dragon Boat World Championships.
I was very happy to be there. Just especially even after COVID, we couldn't even race or anything, and then to see all the other countries coming together again and paddling together. So it was nice out there. It was nice to see that.
She returns with 8 medals, 3 gold, 2 silver, and 3 bronze, as the only Indigenous woman on Team Canada. A number of First Nations leaders greeted Ross as she arrived at the Winnipeg airport.
We're very proud of Trina. I commend you so very much. You're an inspiration to our women, our men, our First Nations young people, and for living a healthy lifestyle and for showing many of us what can be done. We're just so proud of you, and at a time that's just so tragic that we have such good news here today, that we have hope and inspiration in you.
They presented her with flowers, gifts, and wrapped her in a star blanket made to reflect the Pimachikamak Cree Nation flag.
I can't say enough that how proud I am of her, and it really set a good example for everybody back home, and that with all the tragedy we faced, this year, and losing youth and others, and it really brings a lot of hope back to our community.
Ross hopes her story of success can inspire other young Indigenous youth.
If you're a paddler, runner, anything or any sport, just keep going. Even if you have injuries or setbacks, don't give up. Just keep going and keep working hard. There's people watching, and then there's kids watching us all the time. They look up to us. See, even my boys, they look up to me, so I can't give up. I just keep going and do my best as a mother to show my kids that anything's possible.
Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And a huge congrats to Trina. 8 medals, that's incredible. So is that Pimachikamak Star Blanket. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Thursday. For much more, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. Dennis Ward, thanks for being with us. Have a great night.